good morning, good evening, good afternoon. It's Paul Zigo once again here at the end of all things to say good morning to everyone. Hey. Yeah, I started the show a couple of shows ago with that Jareth Gawain classic, the Highdeology rap. Good morning to all of you. How much money do these enormous greedy fucks want? All of it. All of it. Like, what are you kidding? We want it all. All the money. Morning, so you still live on the West Coast. Well, anybody that watches me knows that morning is relative. Morning is very, very relative. Morning can be 6 p.m. sometimes. Sometimes that's when you knock the crust out of your eyes, you know? Triangulating. Yeah, maybe it's the dead of night here. Maybe I'm a vampire. And what passes for morning for you is really the sunset for me. Blow. Why is my wall on wonky? What are you even talking about, man? I don't know what you mean, my wall. Morning is a mentality. Agreed. Morning is a mentality. Come into this house and leave a bit of the happiness that you bring. I love that. I love that line. Well, I love that movie, really. It's got simultaneously some of the worst performances and some of the best performances that you can find in modern cinema. Speaking of, this would be interesting to talk about a little bit. I've been on a tear recently with Amelia watching older movies. When I say older, I mean movies from the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. And, you know, we watched Inherit the Wind the other night. Last night we watched The 39 Steps, which is a really early Hitchcock film. So we've been on a tear watching these old movies. And there's something you guys have probably heard me say before, which is that most movies don't know how to end. Like, most endings suck in movies because most movies just feel like, oh, we don't know how to end. Like, a lot of movies feel like they drag on way past where they should have ended and stuff. Dude, I'm telling you, that did not used to be a problem back in the day. Dude, old movies, when they're done, it's just like, and then fucking the end comes up on the screen, you know what I mean? And you're like, oh, neat. That's so, it's really refreshing to see, honestly. Because it really liberates the storyteller. I really feel like modern movies, not all of them, but most of them have this like desire. And maybe it's something that audiences have like subtly or not so subtly asked for from the movie industry. But man, we need to tell them to take it back. We need to tell them that they can have it fucking back. Because, dude, those old endings are great. RoboCop is a modern example, a rare modern example of what I would consider to be like a 1930s, 40s ending. Like, I told you guys last night we watched the 39 Steps, early Hitchcock movie. You don't need to know about it. It's like a little spy film noir kind of drama with some comedy elements in it. And I'm telling you, man, it wraps up like, the big scene happens. Everything fucking like is revealed. The plot, the spy plot is laid bare. You know what I mean? In one last scene. And then at the end of it, you see the guy and the femme fatale that he met hold hands very quickly as they look out over the scene of cops arresting all these spies and shit. And then it just bum 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 bum, the end. A Metro Goldwyn Mayer production or whatever the fuck. And you're just like, oh, cool. No, like 6 months later, they're still living happily. You know what I mean? Like, I really feel like a lot of movies really fumble on that goal line, and I don't. A lot of old movies are on YouTube for free, for sure. And I really recommend you guys check them out. I know a lot of people kind of like a shoe watching older movies because they feel like they're boring. But I'm telling you, man, if you appreciate at all the beauty of composition, you'll see such beautiful shots and sets in movies. Movies that were shot for black and white are so rich and vibrant in their contrasts and the way that they had to use light and shadow to shoot properly in a moody black and white film. It's just fucking awe-inspiring, man. If you're a fan at all of just the art of cinema, that kind of every frame of painting type of mentality, the framing, the beautiful sense of depth that comes with, a well-composed shot, the layers of space and how they're, accounted for, the cuts, like all of that type of stuff. You see kind of like the beginnings of how modern movies are made and cut. And it's just very beautiful to watch. And then the stories are, quite honestly, they were simpler, not overly so, but I feel like movies nowadays are really trying to pile on a lot of characters and a lot of extra shit. And it's like old movies don't really concern themselves with that, not usually. I will say that there are some exceptions to the rule when it comes to older films. We're talking, the 60s through the 30s or whatever, that 30 years of film there. There are definitely some movies that are just slam packed with crazy characters and over the top fucking and extras and all that stuff. But I really feel like older movies have a tendency to be more intimate in their presentation. And that's just fun to me. You know what I mean? It's really, not everything has to be this looming, giant, consequential thing. You know what I mean? You can tell these very intimate, personal stories. They did use heavy makeup in black and white and a lot of light tricks and a lot of shot depth tricks and stuff. But, oh, man, an old movie shot on that old film, shot in black and white, to me, there's just something like, especially when it's well shot by somebody that's got the eye, like Hitchcock, 39 Steps. It's not an overly, like I said, it's not like the world ending. It's not an overly consequential film. It's not like, but man, it's kind of sumptuous to look at. You know what I mean? It's just shot so well. Hitchcock was so good at framing and doing these panning shots and really early, like handheld. I know it's not handheld. It would be more like shoulder mounted work. That type of stuff. His use of close-ups at key moments to like ramp up the tension. And I just love it, man. I love watching a great director direct an old film, you know. If I was a director, I would guarantee no CGI in every movie and do everything with special effects. Well, nobody would ever hire you. Because the reason why everything is done in CGI, or not everything, but a lot of things are done in CGI now, is because the cost is just so vastly cheaper. Like, there's no way you're going to find some benefactor company that's going to pay millions and millions and millions of dollars for these artists to come in and sculpt macro miniatures for you. Like, you have any idea what the budget for just like scenery and special effects and shit used to be in movies? Now, it used to show. You put that kind of budget into a movie, you get a movie like Aliens, which just holds up visually, in my opinion, to this day. There are very few scenes in Aliens that are kind of wonky, look a little model-y, look a little, you know what I mean? Very few. Like, I'd say 90% at least of the special effects work in Aliens holds up 100% today, which is pretty crazy. But there were millions of dollars of, materials and artists and artisans to build all that shit, space to have it in, the shooting of it and the lighting of it and all that stuff. It's like another actor. It's like when you deal with like having to build scenery, you have to do everything to scenery when you're talking about shooting macro miniature. You have to do everything to scenery that you do to the actors on stage. You got to put makeup on it in the form of paint and dirt and dust so that it doesn't look modelly. You've got to put fucking lighting on it. You got to make sure that the lighting is correct. You got to conceive the shot, the panning shot that comes in, to make sure that the camera moves slow enough over it that it, implies a sense of gliding scale rather than moving really quickly across the shot, showing off how small it is. There's a lot of considerations that go into shooting. Like I said, it's like shooting another actor. So it's like, take all the actors in the movie and then make every, maybe not every scene, but most major scenes another actor in the movie. And now what do? And it's kind of sad. Like, there are a lot of people that think it's cool. I think it's sad. What do now? They put people in front of these big, giant, curved green screens, and they project the movie, like some of the scenery behind people. But to the actors, they're just standing in a room with a green mat on the floor. Like, dude, back in the day, I think being an actor in the movies was probably pretty grueling, but it was also probably like a really interesting process. You know what I mean? And nowadays, if it's like that, dude, if it's like, and I know not every movie is shot like that, but like this new movement towards shooting like 90% of a show in front of one of those fucking techno screens or whatever the fuck. It's just like, man, that doesn't sound like, dude, that doesn't even sound like fun to me. You know what I mean? It doesn't even sound interesting. It doesn't even sound like it would like trigger the same like emotional release that I get from acting. The Hobbit was like that for council scenes. I know. So many of these movies are. And look, so many great, like the Lord of the Rings had a lot of that green screen shit too, but they did a lot of locational shooting too. Tons of locational shooting. They actually built Hobbiton. And then, New Zealand foothills. They just built Hobbiton out there. You know what I mean? And then nowadays, I feel like they would just pretty much CG. They'd build a couple of huts on a sound stage. You know what I mean? And then they'd put the big fucking techno screen or whatever the fuck it is behind it. I don't know. It just... Here's what I love about film, right? Is like, I can sit here and criticize the modern way of making films, but there's still some really good movies that are being made. And there's probably a bunch of times that I've watched movies and not even been aware that technology is being used, because it's really good at making these photorealistic environments that come to life and move relative to the actors. And so there's probably a lot of things that I've watched, especially now, that I just wasn't aware that happened, and I just thought, oh, that was a cool shot. You know what I mean? And so I'm talking shit about it here. I'm not trying to undermine the craft. I'm just saying that there is something to me about going back and looking at these old movies that had to be shot more practically, because I feel like they can't get away with so much bullshit. I feel like those movies are more raw bone because they have to fucking affect you, right? You cannot throw a big fucking CGI Cyclops up on the screen and have it stomp its way through you. You know what I mean? You've got to be able to fucking affect that audience. And I'm telling you, man, watching the 39 Steps, and this is a movie, I think it's from 1935, 36. So it's, you know, a pretty fucking early movie. And this movie had me and Amelia just like, both of us. You know, me and Amelia, when we watch movies together, we're usually like real talkative through it. You know, not all the time, but we'll make little comments back and forth. Dude, we were just both like, you know what I mean? Both just like wrapped up in this movie's story and the world of the movie and just like what's going to happen. You know what I mean? And that's like, you know, none of the modern tricks. None of the bullshit. No dinosaurs. No aliens. No goddamn. I'm not saying it's bad to have those goddamn things in a movie. It's just like, man, do I appreciate the simplicity and the engineering that went into some of these older films. Well, if you like adventure movies, I really can't recommend highly enough The African Queen. Humphrey Bogart and I forget the lady's name. I feel stupid when I hear it, but oh my God, dude, The African Queen is like one of the it's the inspiration for the Jungle Cruise ride at Disneyland. Spartacus is another great epic old movie. I agree. Stanley Kubrick directed as well, which is neat. I miss movies about normal people. Here's the thing. I like movies, and it's not that I miss them. It's just that I really appreciate a movie that is about people and not incidents. Does that make sense? It's about a group of people or a pair of people or one person and how that person interacts with the world more than it's about the incidents that happen in the film. A good modern example would be Uncut Gems, right? Right. Character driven versus plot driven. So a modern example of this would be Uncut Gems. Another great modern example would be The Witch. These are movies that are far more, like 12 Angry Men. That is another fantastic, probably like a real template example, because that really is just a character study. Just a giant character study, right? Intimate, conversational, real. That's one of the things that I think that the movies has lost touch of. But I don't think that the human mind, maybe not lost touch with, but lost its way with on a lot of the popular movies that come out. But I don't think the human mind is done with that. Seeing the intimacy of our lives laid bare up on the movie screen is just, in my opinion, every bit as fucking powerful as putting a big Godzilla or a King Kong up there. Putting a big alien spaceship blowing up the world. I mean, I'm not saying that shit isn't fun to look at, but it's every bit as consequential for me to watch a movie like 12 Angry Men. By the way, one of the few movies that has a remake that's really fucking great as well. Changes a little bit, but remains the same, just kind of like updates it for the 90s, I think. Has James Gandolfini in it. Has a bunch of great fucking actors in it. Jack Lemmon, just fucking absolutely full of great actors. So the remake is actually really good at 12 Angry Men too, but it's just there's something so intimate and real about just men having a fucking conversation of consequence, or in The Witch, a family and their dynamic as they try and survive in the wilderness, completely cut off from society. The intimacy that comes with that is very real and very human, and it doesn't require a whole lot of superheroes and explosions and blah, blah, blah. The dialogue in Heat. Yeah. That's a good dialogue film for sure. Especially that, the scene. The scene where De Niro and Pacino meet. A lot of parody and satire born from 12 Angry Men. Sure. I mean, I find that, like, important things typically are satirized. Whether you consider them important or not is kind of up to you, but I do find that things that society deems to be important are often satirized, and 12 Angry Men is just a fantastic example. That's why I love The Breakfast Club. Nothing really happens. They just talk, get to know each other, and then leave eventually, and it's perfect. Yeah. Yeah, it's really committed to that. This is a day in the life. You know what I mean? It's really committed to that that feeling like we're in detention with these kids, Not every movie has to be that way, but I just feel like there are less and less offerings of that type of movie making it to the top of the box office, because make no bones about it, all these movies that we're mentioning here, maybe with the exception of a couple, box office giants, right? The Breakfast Club was huge film. People went and saw it multiple times when it came out. You know what I mean? It was one of those movies. And I don't even know if I can imagine a movie like that working now or having that kind of effect on people now. I think we've been desensitized by all our explosions and shit. Because to me, and this may seem funny to you, but like to me, that movie is every bit as explosive as a fucking Avengers film. There's every bit as much drama and human emotion and human impact and human import in The Breakfast Club as there is in a fucking Avengers film. Not everything has to be like about saving the goddamn world. The Breakfast Club is just an intimate version of that same shit. Thanos has come to destroy their universes, and Thanos is different for each one of the kids in The Breakfast Club. It's not one boogeyman. It's, each one has their boogeyman. The prom queen, Claire, has an eating disorder and super high expectations of herself and super low, affinity for everybody else that isn't part of her little group. She's kind of been raised in that environment. The sport jock guy has an overbearing father that expects him to do everything right, and it's kind of, you can tell his dad is kind of living vicariously through him. The punk kid, the kind of fucking tough guy. He's very open about the fact that he's abused at home, and he's been cyclically abused by at least just his drunk old man. I think he even intones that his mother, joins in. And the nerdy kid, you know what I mean? The nerdy kid has, expectation issues that come from the same kind of place as the jock does. But it's just that his parents expect him to excel academically rather than in sports. And so he's heaped with this tons and tons of overbearing parenting. And then the, outcast misfit girl, she's just absolutely crushed by poverty. Her family has nothing. She has nothing. And she's cast aside by everybody at school because she looks and acts different. And so every single one of them, that's their villains, and they're all thrown in the fucking mix together. And that, to me, is every bit as consequential, every bit as explosive, every bit as interesting, and has every bit the impact of a movie where we're trying to dodge a meteor or an alien invasion or some shit. And that's, that to me, that's, and once again, I'm not trying to poo-poo those films. I like a good alien invasion. I like a good weird sci-fi epic now and again, but I really feel like the world has become saturated by big stories. Molly Ringwald is so hot. Yeah, dude. I kind of agree. I mean, she was like a heartthrob back in the 80s. But I got to tell you, for me, Ali Sheedy, dude. And not just in The Breakfast Club either. Ali Sheedy was the shit. Is that the goth chick? I guess, yeah. I wouldn't really call her goth. The spooky chick, the weirdo, the outsider or whatever. Ali Sheedy's still hot. Is she? Well, after I roll this J, I'm gonna look that up. I'll call you on that. Dude, she was gorgeous in fucking, what was that movie? The Johnny Five movie, Short Circuit. You remember? She was in the first Short Circuit movie. And she was like Johnny Five's little girlfriend or whatever. Give us a kiss. Ooh, right on the sensor. That movie also has the dude, a dude like in total brown face doing a total like Apu Indian accent out of nowhere. Kind of a shame. Like, why didn't they just hire a real Indian dude with a real Indian accent? Why do they, like, I just don't understand that type of shit, man. I know for an absolute fact that there were Indian dudes out there desperately trying to, dude, everybody wants to be an actor. Every type of person, every fucking nation is represented in the people who want to be actors in Los Angeles, especially at that time. They could have found a dude, is what I'm saying. It's like them choosing to put, now I'm not saying it was a bad decision, but choosing to kind of like redo the Scarface story and make it, instead of about Italian mob and Italian immigrants, to kind of update it and make it more topical by making it about Cuban immigrants, and then casting an Italian to play a Cuban, when his friend Manolo in the movie, I can't remember what his name is, but the guy that played Manolo in the movie, straight up Cuban, and he's great in it. You know, I'm just not saying. So you said Ali Sheedy's still hot. I gotta check on this. Let me see. ALY. Holy fuck, you're right. I mean, I don't know what I expected. Like, I don't know that I ever expected that Ali Sheedy was gonna get like. I mean, I'm whatever. I don't think women get ugly as they age, but I'm just saying, like, they don't typically change this little. I mean, she looks really good. Congrats to Ali Sheedy. Can it be shown on screen? Sure. Yeah. There. So here's, I mean, like, look. Here's Ali Sheedy back in the days that we're talking about. I was a young Ali Sheedy. You know, and this more modern Ali Sheedy here. Here she is. Yeah, I think she looks great. She looks just like she looks so much Ali. She still looks Ali Sheedy. It's very strange. Yeah. Some of her early headshots. She was in this is from War Games with Matthew Broderick, which is actually like a really good movie. And I think this was her first, I don't know, let's look up Ali Sheedy. Give me a second. I don't care if you're not interested. I'm interested. Ali Sheedy. I want to see her IMDb. What was her first major film? Am I right about War Games? Man, she's been in a bunch. TV movie. So she started as a TV movie actress, which actually those, to be honest with you, a lot of famous actors got their start in those. Those are virtually unheard of now. Those are like Hallmark movies, you know what I mean? Or made for TV or straight to video movies. You know, they were made to be played on the TV, you know, just on a specific channel. And then she did some TV series. So she was in Bad Boys, as J.C. Walensky. What is Bad Boys? Hold up, dude. Let's look at this trailer. So this is Ali Sheedy's first like big role here. I've never heard of this movie, so I kind of want to see.
Once little boys grew up to be reliable and hardworking, but now, in their world, respect has to be earned and kept by a lethal combination of money and violence. Bad Boys. Meet Michael O'Brien.
Whoa.
Reliable
dude, that's Sean Penn. I didn't recognize him here, but that's fucking Sean Penn. Crazy.
But now, in their world, JC and the excitement of being somebody that matters.
So, yeah, that's her first movie is like this like Gangland movie, I guess, with a young Sean Penn. Neat. That's pretty cool. Let's go back. Yeah, so she did a lot of TV movies, and then here's War Games, where I think they really aged her down because, I mean, hold on. When was she born? Did they give stats on her? See the full bio. Born in 1962. Fuck. How old would that make her? Somebody do the math for me real quick, because I'm really bad at that shit. She was born in 62. Well, hold on. If I was born in 80, I'm 42. She's born in 62. That would make her 20 years older than me, at least. Or at least, well, not quite 20 years older than me, I guess. So she's in her 60s. Yeah, she's like 60 something. Okay. Got it. So then in 1980, what was it? Let's go all the way back. And so in Bad Boys here, in 83, if she was born in 60, what was it? When was she born? 62? So she would have been 21 here in Bad Boys. Right? I think I'm doing the math right. Yeah, she would have been 21 in this. So her second role was in this movie, War Games with Matthew Broderick, which is actually a really good flick. I can't vouch for Bad Boys, but I don't know. It's got Sean Penn in it.
David Lightman was a master at computer games.
Oh, boy.
A fast thinker.
Oh, David! Maybe you could tell us who first suggested the idea of reproduction without sex.
So both of these people, I think, were probably aged significantly down. But Ali Sheedy's supposed to be like 16 or something in this movie. So it's kind of strange. It's kind of strange that like the first work she got in Hollywood was like, all right, you're 21, but you know, we could put you in some pigtails or something and make you look like you're 16.
With an electronic twist.
Yeah, you're a high school girl now. It's very strange. Hollywood's obsession with that. And then it's not like it wasn't like an ongoing thing in Ali Sheedy's career because, well, let's see. I think her next movie I didn't recognize either, so we'll take a look at it too. Her next movie was this is okay, yeah, Oxford Blues. Man, I don't think I've seen this movie. Yeah, I have not seen this movie. Oh man, is that Julian Sands with Rob Lowe? Holy fuck, this movie is twinktastic, bro. May have to watch this one later. Julian Sands and Rob Lowe in a fucking sported up twink movie? Holy shit, let's look at this trailer. May have to mute it. That sounds copyrighted. Yeah, see, he's playing all his music. Let me see what they're playing. Yeah, they're definitely playing music. I knew it. So young Rob Lowe. Ali Sheedy's not even the best girl in this one. This looks like bullshit. Is his main rival Julian Sands? Dude, I know I saw Julian Sands. In fact, I'm going to go look. I guarantee you he's on the list, dude. I know Julian Sands when I see him, dude. That's Julian fucking Sands. Show me the goddamn list. Yeah, there he is. Told you. And he's listed fourth after all the good people in the movie. So he's definitely the villain. But I know, I know a Julian Sands immediately, man. Julian Sands from Warlock, the Warlock franchise. One of my favorite old 80s horror schlock franchise. In the 80s, they never stopped the music in the trailers. That's kind of true. So I don't know what age she was supposed to be in that movie, having never seen it. It looks like college age, which makes sense. She was around 22 or 23 at that time. Then, when she's 24... or 25. No, she's 24 or 23. She gets this role in The Breakfast Club where she's playing another 16-year-old. All of these people were aged up for this film, I'm pretty sure. Hold on, let's look. This is a crazy movie, by the way. If you haven't seen it, you really owe it to yourself to check it out. What is this? Right. So Molly Ringwald. How old is Molly Ringwald? Roseville, California. Wow, not far from where I was born. Can we get that full bio? See that age? That'd be nice. 1968. So she's a couple of years younger. If that was made in 1968, Breakfast Club is an all-time great film. Probably watch it twice a year. Yeah. I mean, I don't think I watch it twice a year, but it's definitely worthy of watching twice a year for sure. Right. Okay, so we're talking about The Breakfast Club here, so let's see. Gotta get back to that page. It's made in 1985. So Molly Ringwald, if she was born in 68, 78, 88. She would have been 10 and 78, 20 and 88, 88, 80. Wait a minute. So I guess she was a teenager in this then. That's kind of creepy weird, right? Am I right about that? So if she was born in 1968, this movie came out in 1985. How old was she? 68, 78, 88. So she'd be 20 and 88, 88, 87, 86, 85. She'd be 17. So she was 17. Now let's look at these other actors. Because keep in mind, there is this whole like Judd Nelson romance with her. And I guarantee, dude, Judd Nelson had to be pushing 30 by this point. He had to be. Maybe not 30, but he was, he's getting up there. He wasn't super young in this. I don't think. Born 1959. So wait a minute. He was born, let's just round it up and say 60, 70, 85. He was 25 years old. So he was 25 and she was 17. And they were playing people from the same class. Like they had classes together. Ali Sheedy was 24. And who does she end up with? She ends up with the jock, right? Emilio Estevez. Held back 9 times. Anyway, I don't know why that interests me, but it's just a funny little tidbit about this that I never thought about. I always thought that Molly Ringwald was older than she was in these movies, but like when she was in 16 Candles, I guess she was pretty close to 16. Which kind of blows me away because I always assumed she was just one of these like 20-year-olds that, they're able to age down. Emilio is a 120-year-old dwarf. Really? Are you talking shit about Emilio, dude? What's Emilio ever done to you? That's what I want to know. What's your problem with Emilio? Why you do this to me, Demi? Why you do this? What the fuck going on? I love people that like wander into the middle of a fucking conversation like that. That's my favorite type of person. You know that. They're just like, fuck going on? Middle of a god. He's like, shut up. We were all just talking about how we want to slap you in the lips, sir. Huh? What's going on? Wasn't a fan of Emilio's acting. He's not the best actor. He's probably the worst actor in that movie by a country mile. If you think about, you like put Emilio Estevez up against every other main character in that movie, he loses. Molly Ringwald outacts him in that movie. Judd Nelson outacts everybody in that movie. I mean, come on. It's Judd Nelson. Anthony Michael Hall. Anthony Michael Hall acts circles around Emilio Estevez in that movie. Paul, what was the title of a book you recommend a lot on the stream? Was going to read it, but I can't remember the name. Huh? Ishmael? Is Ishmael? I don't know. I've recommended a lot of books, but Ishmael is one that we go back to and talk about a lot, so it's probably Ishmael. Martin Sheen, when recently asked if he wanted his son to be actors, no, and I still don't. Ouch. Favorite teen flick from the 80s? Oh, good question. Thanks for the $5, Sully. I mean, is everything on the table? We're talking like horror movies and the whole fucking shebang. Yeah, you know, honestly, it's probably going to be a John Hughes film. I just got to figure out like which one is my personal favorite. I mean, the Breakfast Club is up there. I hate to say it, but Pretty in Pink, 16 Candles, The Breakfast Club, St. Elmo's Fire. They're all John Hughes movies. They're all very fucking iconic to me. Is The Goonies a teen flick? It's kind of a tween flick, right? I guess they could have been like 12, 13. I guess it's kind of a teen adventure film. The Goonies have got to be up there. Man, you're putting me in a fucking tough spot. I think that counts. You got like Nightmare on Elm Street. You got, you know, there's a number of fucking movies that would definitely be classified as teen movies from the 80s. Fucking Never Ending Story. You put me up against that. Labyrinth. Labyrinth would be a fucking teen movie. Shit, the main character in Labyrinth is just a teen girl that has a babysitter, little baby brother. Man, you put me in a tough... No, I'm going to do it. You paid $5. You getting your answer. Outsiders, another great example. I mean, I don't know, man. I'm going to go with my gut here and say that I always felt like that I don't know, how old are they supposed to be? Let's look how old they were. Because fuck it, I might be able to say The Goonies isn't even really a teen movie, but more like a kid movie. And that would like free me. That would like free me of a lot of this. So let me see how old these kids were when they were in this. So this movie... came out in 85. So let's look at the main character, Mikey. So Sean Astin played Mikey. He was born in 71. So in 85, holy fuck, was he 15? Wait a minute. 14? So I was right. Am I wrong? He was born in 1971. Movie came out in 85. He's 14 years old. All right, let's check the other ones. Let's make sure. But if The Goonies is like solidly a teen movie. Now, I know Josh Brolin was older, but he's supposed to be. He's their older brother. Jeff Cohen. The guy that played Chunk. How old was Jeff Cohen when all this came out? 74. 1974, 85. He would have been 11. Okay, well, let's take a look at some of the other cast. I thought, like, if he was also fucking 13, 14 when they did this, but he's more like 11. Corey Feldman played Mouth. How old was he at the tip top of this? 71, 81 would have been 10. So 85, 11, 12. He's like 13, 14 in this movie. So I'm going to say that The Goonies is a teen movie, and I'm going to say that The Goonies is my favorite. There you go. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Easily my most watched and obsessed about and what rewatched and thought about and talked about when I was young. Loved The Goonies. Still do. It's one of those movies I could just like pick it up and watch it any old fucking time. It just makes me happy. When I think teen movie, I really think adult movie that appeals to teenagers. Okay. Well, I don't know. I classify it as a movie that is mostly like stars teenagers, like She's All That or whatever the fuck, 16 Candles, Pretty in Pink. In my opinion, Breakfast Club is better than The Goonies. Hey, look, dude, I ain't going to argue with you. You're probably right in a lot of ways, but for me, if I was going to a desert island and I could only take one movie with me and they gave me two choices, Breakfast Club or The Goonies, I'd pick The Goonies. So you'd pick The Breakfast Club. We both have to live on the fucking, horrible islands that we've created for each other. Weird science, yeah. You'd pick Castaway. Do you think you get sick of watching the dramatized version of your horrible existence on a desert island? Are there any good teen movies nowadays? I got to be honest with you. Teen movies took a hit when John Hughes stopped making them. The 80s were really like John Hughes. He made these crazy movies that were very in tune with the fashion, the music, and the mentality of teenage kids in the 80s. They were not overly a parody. They really kind of like captured something that showed that he was really interested in trying to tell the story of kids in the 80s. And so that's why his movies are so well remembered, is because he really had a flair for capturing that. And I just don't think that other generations have gotten that luxury. Like, not every generation has gotten somebody that cares enough about that generation's, to really represent it up on the screen and over and over and over again. I don't think a teen movie necessarily has to deal with teen issues, but in order to be a teen movie, as long as it centers around teenage characters, I think that's what, So the characters in it are teenagers. So like Scream, I guess, would be a teen movie, even though all the actors in that were in their 20s. But it's the same thing in Breakfast Club, right? About to finish The Sopranos. Well, good for you. Get ready to watch it again. Because here's the thing. I didn't know shit about The Sopranos, and I don't think I understood half of what I understand about The Sopranos on a first watch. You really start to examine The Sopranos on a second watch, and you start to see some crazy shit. We've talked about it a little bit here. But I have some crazy ideas about The Sopranos. Like what? I mean, we've talked about it before. Like there being like more than enough hints for me to believe that Tony is dead for most of The Sopranos. And existing in like different layers of limbo. Experiencing kind of a mixture of different afterlives. There's a ton of different religions are mentioned, and sometimes closely integrated into the plot in very strange ways. Taoism, Buddhism, you have, I can't remember the name of the religion, but there are a lot of West African religions that are woven in, Eastern philosophy, German philosophy. You know, there's just all this mixture of religion and philosophy. And if you really look at the way that, you know, the underworld has been portrayed as going through 7 layers, right? And this is not the way that the underworld is portrayed in the Bible necessarily, but in Dante's Inferno. You know, you got the 7 circles of hell, and at the very bottom is Satan, you know, and he just is eternally chewing. And if you look at it from the perspective of we're introduced to Tony Soprano, he dies, and then he slowly descends into limbo where he is picked apart. Like everything that is important to him is picked apart. And he's never given a moment's respite. He's never given a moment's rest. Every time he's happy, he's given, like, if you look at the show, it really is that. It's almost comical how everything blows up in Tony's face. When he tries to do something right, he's punished for it. Well, when I say right, I mean, because he really doesn't have a concept of right and wrong as kind of a sociopath, or a psychopath. But, you know, when he does something that we would consider to be morally right, he, you know, is excoriated for it. When he does something wrong, he's just barely gets away with it, but at great expense to himself and the people around him. Everything is slowly but surely falls apart in Tony Soprano's life. He loses touch with his son. He loses touch with his daughter. He loses touch with his wife. His mother tries to kill him. His uncle tries to kill him. You know, just these people all fall away out of Tony Soprano's existence, and every last one of them becomes almost monstrous in his life, knowing what he is, and become instruments of his torture. And you see this over and over and over and over again, as well as obvious representations of the supernatural. The most memorable one being Paulie and the cat, where, you know, Paulie is watching this cat all day that is just looking at Christopher's picture. And it's almost implied that this cat is Christopher reincarnated, which Hinduism is covered pretty extensively in The Sopranos as well, as a sub-theme. The idea of reincarnation, the idea of multiple lives, the idea of trying to balance out your karmic debt in order to, you know, ascend. So, well, you see, here's the thing, Johnny. You'd probably be better off not sympathizing with the protagonist, but you can't help but sympathize with him. He's a lovable psychopath. That's one of the things about him. Like, because you get to see the struggle. But you know, he's tortured by everybody. That's the point. Is like nothing is ever correct for Tony, no matter what he does. And the more that it goes on, it starts to feel like he's sinking lower and lower and lower and lower as a person into these different layers of hell. And then finally everything is taken from him at the end. And it's revealed that despite all of the philosophical musings about different religions and different afterlives, there is no such thing in the end. It's darkness, it's emptiness. And what you experience maybe is something that, you know, like there's a theory that the entire show just kind of flies through Tony's mind in the moment that he gets shot, because at the end of it, it's almost idyllic. You know, the way his family gets back together, everybody's smiling and everybody's happy, and nobody buys that, right? Because these people are just, they're too flawed. And it's not just the impending assassination of Tony that makes it that way either. It's like the whole thing feels syrupy. You got Churney playing in the background, you know what I mean? Talking about a small town girl and a city boy, you know, and all of that shit. It's a very syrupy, sappy song, and it's a very syrupy, sappy scene where everybody's just happy and walking in, you know, everybody, this family shit, you know what I mean? And it's just like, you know, that these people are well beyond that. And so the whole thing just feels off from the jump. Don't spoil the end. Sorry. I mean, you can tune out, bro. Just saw the scene where I mean, you know, Tony's exploring his inner space or whatever the fuck at that point in the show. And it's, you know, it's not a pretty thing. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, man. People should know better than to not have these conversations with me if they really truly care about spoilers, because I don't like being I don't like this idea that I got to restrict what I talk about anywhere because of what you have or haven't seen. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm no disrespect to you. I'm not salty or mad about it, but I'm just saying, like, you should have probably ejected out of this fucking conversation. You know, I know it's fun to talk about, but watch the end. I won't spoil the end. How do you get the, yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. But yeah. No, I like thinking about The Sopranos in esoteric terms because I think that the show invites it. There's tons of this like tarot and astrology and numerology and, you know, it's kind of based superstitions and references to different religious texts. You know, the Bhagavad Gita, just everything is just kind of sprinkled throughout this fucking shit. It's just asking you, hey, think about what this is about. Think about what's really going on here. Like it's a mob family drama on the surface, but what's really happening to Tony Soprano? And that's, you know, what makes the show super interesting to me. And that's really something that I mean, the movie, it kind of becomes hard to pick up on it as the show goes on, hard not to pick up on it as the show goes on. But that was one of the things that drew me back in for a second watch, and what'll probably draw me back in for a third. Was Many Saints any good? Yeah. Many Saints was good, but it was not what it was advertised as. They kind of advertised the mini Saints of New York as being about young Tony and kind of how he went from being this sheepish teenager to kind of like being, and there's a little bit of that, like how he goes from being a sheepish teenager to being a kind of like the guy that will become a mob boss. And there's a little bit of that, but the movie is way more about Dickie Moltisanti, who is Christopher Moltisanti's dad. And about it gives you a huge revelation in the movie about something in the show that whatever. I guess I won't spoil. No, it's not as good as the show, but if you go into it expecting that it's going to be like, Gandolfini's son is going to be this central character in the movie and he's going to be in every scene and it's really going to be this cool arc. They really advertised it as such, but it's not that. It's a story about Christopher Moltisanti's father, Dickie Moltisanti, and how he interacted with Tony's dad and Junior and all of the characters of the time that we recognize from the show, but while Tony was a teenager. And Tony is kind of wrapped up into things, and there's definitely some progression, and then you see what happens to him a little bit, but he is not the central character in it. Former Italian mobster Michael Francesi hated Many Saints. I don't give a fuck. Who cares? Who cares what a fucking ex-mobster thinks? A fucking rat. A rat. Out there talking and blabbermouthing about this thing of ours. Out there talking and blabbermouthing about this thing of ours. Stop caring about Chris after he sold out his girlfriend. Well, I mean, maybe that's kind of the point. Maybe the mistake you made was caring about a guy that you know was an unrepentant fucking murderer in the first place. See, this show is all about fucking examining your morality as well as the morality of the characters on the screen. That's why I love it so much. It's probing you while you're probing it. And it's just like you gave up on that character, which is, I mean, not gave up, but you stopped caring about the future of that character. But it's kind of like the the frog and the scorpion. It's like frog helps the scorpion swim out into the, trying to help him cross the river. Scorpion stings the frog in the middle of the river, killing them both because the frog will die and then the scorpion will get washed away down the torrential river. The frog in his last moments asks the scorpion why. And the scorpion says, because it's my nature. And so, you know what I mean? You got stung by the scorpion, bro. You were carrying this fucked up character who was a cokehead, a user, an abuser, a murderer, a philanderer, a con man, a thief. Even from the people that he wasn't he had no honor among thieves kind of guy, stole from other thieves, and you were the frog. You carried that guy on your back. And then he fucking crossed. You know what I mean? You crossed the river and he stung you. Was there a specific moment where you turned against Tony during your first watch? I was never on Team Tony. Now, not to say I didn't love watching his shit, but it was apparent in my first watch. I remember going like, man, this guy just doesn't fucking get it. This guy is just the cause of all his own problems. And he just wants to blame everybody else. Anyone can go against their nature. That's not what that's what a parable is about, though, Lowview. Anyone can go against their nature. Anyone can change who they are fundamentally. Most people don't. That's the point of that parable. Is like when you have, like a scorpion is like, think about this, Lowview. A scorpion is very outwardly aggressive looking, right? He's got the pinchers. He's got the big fucking hooked barbed stinger hanging up back here, right? And then you got this frog who's normally something that a fucking scorpion's going to try and sting and eat. But both of them need to get across the river. The scorpion says, hey, man, help me across the river. The frog says, well, only if you don't sting me. He said, why would I do that? Why would I sting you? It would kill us both. The frog says, all right, hop on. They swim out halfway through, and then the fucking scorpion stings him. It's not about what's going on. It's about you being wary of. It's basically the parable says when somebody tells you who they are, believe them. So if somebody's outwardly displaying big neck tats and all fucking ripped and all fucking dangerous, and you know things about them that are dangerous, don't act like you're freaked out if you invite that person into your life and then they get violent and start punching shit or end up in trouble. You know what I mean? It's not about judging a book by its cover, but it's about listening to people when they tell you what they are. And a frog knows what a goddamn scorpion is. That's why parables are fun, because, you take it very literally, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But if you think about it metaphorically, which is how it's meant to be thought about, it's a way of saying you should listen to your intuition about people. Sopranos made me want to join organized crime. Really? Yeah, those guys were up, but when they were down bad, like fucking getting shot in the streets bad, No, thank you. I like parables. I just think that one is a garbage one. All right. Whatever you say, boss. Whatever you say, boss hog. Bobby Bacala was the only good mobster. He wasn't even good. He was just good in comparison to the fucking absolute psychopaths he was surrounded by. He was the dude. His hands were just about as bloody as anybody else's in the organization. Not everybody in the organization was a contract killer. He ran money. He ran routes. He did fucking collections. He beat people up. Bobby Bacala is not a good guy. He's just good because he's not abusive to his wife and he's kind to his children. And so because we're in a world where we're watching people who are routinely abusive both ways, psychologically, physically, and there's, abuse going both ways in every fucking relationship, and there's murder and mayhem and theft and low morality as we would think about it from a modern perspective, Bobby Bacala looks like a fucking good guy. He's not. He's a fucking mobster. Watching that show really lowers your standards for the characters. Well, it's either that or spend the whole show going, oh, they're all just awful. And there were probably people that started watching the show and stopped watching it after a few episodes because they were just like, they got it. You know what I mean? They were just like, oh, there's no good guys in this. Everybody's just kind of awful. Even the kids, in their own way, because of how privileged they've grown up, they are very self-centered and very shitty people. You know what I mean? Certainly not killers, murderers, or whatever the fuck, but they suckled at the teat filled with blood. They're nice and fat and happy and well-fed and well-educated because all the rivers of blood that their father and all the mobsters that they party with routinely, created, so... When I worked in an Italian restaurant, I found out my boss's brother and my brother were in Attica State together. My boss's brother was part of the Bonono crime family. The Bonono crime family, bro? Never heard of that one, but neat. Anthony Jr. was so stupid. Not like he had a good role model. Yeah. Well, that was kind of the point, right? You can sense I'm about to leave. You got good senses. I'm out of here. Thanks for chilling. Thanks for talking. I got to go get ready for the patrons only live stream of Onion Nuggets. By the way, links down below here is a link to our Patreon. You want to see the Onion Nuggets for the next 2 weeks? You become a patron. If not, well, you just languish without an Onion Nuggets this week. No free Onion Nuggets for you this week. If you're a patron, you ain't got nothing to worry about, though. So become a patron. Check it out. Check out our merch. Buy some stuff. Support the show. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.